Hi, I'm Sean Gibson from Tech Britain. We're here today in Derry at the CultureTECH Festival. I'm really happy to be joined by Eamonn Carey from Keep. Nice to meet you, Eamonn.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Eamonn, if you want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be at CultureTECH today.
Yeah, so I run Keep's international expansion from our office in London, and Keep is a rewards network, so we give people real-world rewards for their achievements in games and apps. So if you complete a level or complete a workout or beat the boss in a game or score a hat-trick in a football game, you can get a coffee from Starbucks or a free plate of food from Yo Sushi or a can of Pepsi, or think of anything really. We've given away tickets to concerts, we've given away holidays, all sorts of different things. So the goal is to kind of create a little bit more engagement, to reward people for their existing behavior, because as we see and as we know, lots of people are playing games and apps and engaging with them in a huge way. Before that, I was a journalist for a couple of years and ran a couple of companies then in the kind of digital media sector. And I met Mark from CultureTECH at Sound City in Liverpool a couple of months ago. We were both on a panel kind of talking about how people could start their own businesses and how they didn't necessarily always have to look to Silicon Valley or to Tech City or wherever it is to start them. That sometimes the best place to start something is in your own backyard and use your own existing user base, as it were, of friends to start something up. So we chatted over coffee, and he was kind enough to ask me to come over and talk at CultureTECH, which I just came off the stage. It's a great event, great audience, and Derry is really good fun.
Yeah, we're very happy to be here, and I'm very impressed with the lineup. It's great to see speakers like yourself across supporting great initiatives like CultureTECH. So in terms of Keep, how did you come to be involved in Keep?
So I had a idea that was relatively similar. I was kind of wireframing out a platform that would allow people to reward attainment in education. So the more you engaged with tests and content, the more you helped other people out, the more you could earn points and get rewards like movie tickets and discounts on pizzas and various different things like that. And then I was reading TechCrunch one day and read that Keep already existed and that they were doing rewards and rewarding people in games, and that they had kind of big ambitions. So I emailed Brian Wong, who's the founder of Keep, who had just raised some VC money over in the US, emailed and told him what I was working on and what my background was, and said if they were ever thinking of the UK or international expansion, I'd love to talk to him. And luckily for me, he replied, and it kind of went from there. I mean, I started out just doing some advisory stuff, helping them kind of lay the groundwork for opening up in the UK and around kind of Europe and Asia, and then it kind of morphed into a proper job, as it were, over a period of time, which was great, because I think there's a lot of big US companies who are always a little bit wary of coming over to new markets, and they're always very open to people coming along and volunteering to help out, sometimes for free, but it's an amazing experience to be able to say, I worked with company X and helped them get their first partnership in territory Y. And I'm a great believer in just sending emails to people who I think are doing interesting things anyway, because even if they only send a one-line response, or even if you only connect with 5% of them, right, it's 5% more people than you knew before you started emailing them. So I've always been a real advocate of doing things that way, and it's obviously worked out for me.
Yeah, it certainly has. And you're based in London, but you're originally from Ireland. Yeah,
originally from Dublin, and then lived in Dubai for a little while, and then I've been in London for the last 2 years or thereabouts. And then I travel quite a bit because of work, and it's great to get the chance to come to to go to Sound City in Liverpool, to come to this. We were up at the Edinburgh Interactive Festival a while ago, and if you look at the way that even just in the UK the kind of games industry has kind of spread out, a lot of it isn't necessarily in London. There's massive kind of clusters, like loads of games companies in Brighton, some really amazing games companies in Dundee, some really amazing stuff happening around Cambridge, so it's brilliant to get the opportunity to go and talk to places, because we never know where the next 10 million download game is going to come from, or where the next massive zombies run type fitness app is going to come from, right? I mean, so the wider that we spread the net, the more people we talk to, the better it's going to be all around, is my kind of view on it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I was very impressed to see how many games companies are based in Derry. Like, there really is quite a burgeoning, vibrant community here. I mean, in terms of Northern Ireland's tech community and their cluster, what is your thought?
I think the the shackles are off a little bit for people here and for people around the UK and for people in Ireland and everywhere else, right? I mean, people don't necessarily have a lot to lose by trying things. The barriers to entry to creating a business or a startup are much lower now than 10 years ago when I started my first company, where if you wanted to build a website, it was expensive and you had to hire a guy to do the coding, you had to hire a designer to make it all look nice. When the iPhone SDK came out the first time, it was prohibitively expensive to get an app built because there was such a scarcity of iOS developers and Objective-C coders that they were able to charge like thousands of pounds a day or a week to get work done. Whereas now, that technology side of things is a little bit more of a commodity. Like if you wanted a website tomorrow, I could build you one with WordPress, right? And I could customize it and it would take less than a day. If you want an iPhone app, you can work with a company like Mobile Roadie now and you can get an iPhone app built super quick. So it allows you to test the market and get that kind of validation. So that's incredible, and to see stuff like that happening in Northern Ireland, and to hear, meeting companies here today and talking to people over, I came in last night, it's incredible to hear some of the innovation that's happening here. So all it takes is a little bit of support from the local community, potentially a little bit of investment from the right partners, and that's probably where we've always fallen down a little bit, is if you're in the Valley, it's much easier obviously to raise $300,000 or $500,000 or more. I think the problem that's always been in place in the UK and in Ireland is that initial kind of 50,000 to 300,000 pound range, it's extremely difficult to get that funding to allow you to quit your job and work full time on it and go hell for leather and do the kind of 12-hour days or 16-hour days that you need to do. But it's getting better. It seems like there are more supports. People, and maybe it's a consequence of the economy over the last while, but people are collaborating a lot more, which is the best thing of all. Where you've got, the only way that kind of tech clusters will develop properly is if people, and I don't want to sound like it's all kind of hands across everywhere and everyone's friends, but where people collaborate, that's where really good stuff happens. That's what, and again, when I started companies years ago, people wouldn't tell each other their ideas. They wouldn't share information because you would always think, oh, this guy's going to rob my idea. Whereas now people are going, actually, I need someone to help me with this bit of database coding. I can trade them this amount of design work in return. And where that starts happening, that's where I see real potential, because if I tell you my idea and you're working on something similar and we join forces instead of trying to fight each other, actually that's when you start creating really big companies that can really scale and have real value. And that's the hope. I mean, the reason investment is so easy to come by in the States is because so many people have made money from technology, whereas in other parts of the world people made money in the finance industry, in the building industry. They didn't understand technology. When I meet investors, in the UK and Ireland, around Europe, who are saying, I'm only going to invest in the next Google or Facebook. You kind of go, well, how do you know who they're going to be, right? I mean, you've got to spread the net a little bit. You've got to try different things. You've got to, understand that not everything is going to be a billion or multi-billion dollar company. That actually, a £5 million exit is still a significant amount of money if you've only invested £50,000. So, that kind of collaboration and a maybe increased access to funding and an increasing awareness from US VCs and from UK VCs that actually stuff is happening that's not just in the Valley or New York or London. That's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. But definitely, I think Northern Ireland has a brilliant future. I mean, there's some amazing companies coming through, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say later on today as well. I
mean, we're certainly starting to see that in terms of like the Valley paying attention to what's going on, across the UK, in Europe in general. So really is a lot of good things in store. In terms of future plans, what are the future plans for Keep going forward?
Yeah, so we've just started our first campaigns in Asia Pacific, so running campaigns in Taiwan pretty soon. We've got stuff running in Australia, New Zealand, so that's a big part of the focus. The biggest focus for me, kind of personally, is just building out the UK operations. We've got a huge, about kind of 15 or 20% of our traffic comes from the UK, so we want to try and get a bunch of rewards on the platform so that people who are playing Keep-enabled games are getting kind of regular rewards and really seeing the engagement that we want them to have. And then it's a case of scaling it out and try to get rewards into the network across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and everywhere. So we've got a big team now in the States, a couple of people in Latin America, and it's my job to kind of scale it out over the rest of the world over the next kind of 12 to 18 months and onwards from there. So fingers crossed.
Sounds like an exciting time to be involved. And if people want to find out more about Keep, what is the website address?
Yeah, so if they go to kiip.com, They can find all sorts of information there. If you're a developer, you can see our SDK and see how simple it is to integrate our system into your game or your application, because we do fitness apps, quick plug, as well, and we're looking at all sorts of different types of applications, productivity, music, anything. So if you're an app developer, please take a look. If you're a brand or an agency, take a look. And if you're just an interested consumer, we have a video that features MC Hammer for a bit of celebrity action, and you'll find out a ton of information about exactly what we do, what it looks like, and how it all works. So yeah, kiip.com.
Fantastic. All right, I'd just like to thank you very much for your time today, and enjoy CultureTECH.
Thank you.